groove. In particular, the J Dilla kind of like Ivy Lab, boom bap, New York type beats. But you can apply these things to other genres, and I think it'd be cool. These beats are cool. I like these kind of beats that kind of like they feel a bit off, and they kind of feel like they're falling over itself and stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna go into a couple ways to make that. So yeah, let's go. So here's Ableton, and I'll give you a preview of my drum pack that I'm releasing this month on my Patreon. So let's get a drum rack and let's get some kicks and snares and stuff. Yeah, so I made all these kicks and snares. I'll get a kick, maybe a clap, and a snare. And a hi-hat. So the first way to do it is to play it in, and that's like kind of one of the most classic ways to do it. But the thing is, to be able to do that, you have to be good at finger drumming. And I'm not like the greatest finger drummer ever, but I've spent some time trying to perfect playing those types of grooves in. But, you know, sometimes I'll do it that way, and sometimes I'll program it. So if you can play them, you probably don't need this tutorial anyways, because you know how they work. So I'll go ahead and show you how I like to program these in. So I'm going to go around halftime tempo, like 157 or something like that. And first I'm just going to make a simple straight beat and get the gain levels right on these drums. So I'll just put a snare on the 3 and a kick on the 1 and a hat on the backbeat and duplicate. So the most typical way to get some cool swing into your groove is to have some sort of groove like this and then go here into the groove pool, and you hit this little button right here, the little swap button, and that'll open up all these cool grooves, and there's all these different grooves in here. Swing is kind of what we're going for, kind of a swung beat. So we can go into these MPCs, and there's 8th note and 16th note swing. And for a halftime beat like this at 160, 8th is kind of like quarter and 16th is kind of like 8. So if we do like 8, it'll kind of feel like a 16, I believe. So let's do like the 68 right there. So now we've loaded that because we double clicked it, so we can hit the hot swap again. And then we can hit that button next to the little hot swap, and that'll commit the groove. Oh, wait. we have to have 16th notes for this to really be apparent. So I'll make 16th notes and then hit this little commit button. Oh, so you can hear it's already there, but the notes aren't swung. But like I said, I'm writing a halftime beat, and so that's not the feel I'm going for. I'm going for like a 16th note feel, but we're halftime. So I know this is kind of confusing, but I'm going back into the hot swap here, and let's choose... You know what? Let's choose a 16th and see what happens. So I'll choose that. Still didn't do anything. So I really don't like using these grooves. You can tell that I probably don't use them very often, and it's because I like to do it myself. So let me just show you how I would do it myself. So snares on the 3, kick on the downbeat just to start. And then we can start getting some swing into these hats. So if I make half notes on the hats, I can then select them all by clicking the MIDI roll here and then just control and slide these out. And these will stay highlighted. So these are like the offbeat hats or the backbeat hats. And then I can start sliding them right. So there's the first kind of technique that you can get some cool grooves out of, is having some quantized and some unquantized or swung. So maybe you have like hats that are swung, and this kick right here is swung, but then these two kicks are on the grid. So it creates this cool like bucci with the kick and the hat. And then I've already shown this in past tutorials, but you can do quintuplets or septuplets swing, or even 9-tuplets. And the way I like to do that is if I'm going for quintuplet, I'll make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 instead of 5. Quintuplet is 5. And then I'll drag this to wherever I want. So if I want the half bar to be divided up into 5, it sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so those can, when you have all of them playing, you feel it almost like it's a beat written in 5/4 or 10/8, because the snare is here and not here. Like if I put the snare there and I just loop this up, you'll feel it like it's in 5/4 and not 4/4. Especially if I consolidate that and then select it and hit the ×2 button. So that's feeling like it's in 5/4, even though I'm still set to a 4/4 signature, time signature. So this is different than time signature because I want to feel like I'm in 4/4 and use quintuplets instead of triplets. So let me show you what I mean by that. So if I move the snare back to the 3, and I select all these, I'll just delete them and do this from scratch again. So if I make 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I select these, I can divide whatever chunk I want into 5. So that would be quintuplet 16th notes, 16th note quintuplets. I can duplicate that. And how I can make these feel like triplets is by muting them. So I can go in and mute these two and this one, and that will start to feel like a swung triplet. And then I can move some of these down to the kicks and start getting some quintuplet kicks in there. So that's kind of quintuplets. The same thing works with 7. So you can do septuplets. And I've already shown this in a tutorial, so I'm not going to show that here. I'll show you how I often do it. So if I want that kind of swung triplet feel, I'll either start with triplets or like quarter notes. So I could just start with triplets like this. Maybe triplet 16ths instead. And then I can just start moving these maybe a little bit earlier and start to get more of that tuplet feel. And you get a little bit more of a human feel too, because I just moved those like arbitrarily, so they're a little bit different than each other. And the same thing with starting out with quarter notes. You can just start to move these like every other 16th note. Or I guess those would be every other quarter note. Move them off. So that's a cool thing. And so now I'll show you the thing that I'm most stoked on, which I just kind of figured out. I was listening to this Ivy Lab track today. Can't remember which one it is, but it has this rhythm with the hats where the hats are slowing down. And I wanted to see if this could be done with tuplets. So first I'll show you what I'm talking about. So kick, snare, like we had before. So it was doing this kind of like 16th note triplets, or 16th notes, I'm sorry. So it was doing that, but the hats were slowing down over the quarter or over the half bar. So I can select them all and drag them out, and it was this kind of feel. And I was writing something earlier today with this kind of feel. And so if I duplicate that out, check out this feel. It's a totally different feel than tuplets. So I thought that was a really cool groove. It's just really fun to play with, and you can do more or less extreme depending on how much you drag them out. And I just wanted to real quick try that with tuplets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's do septuplets, and let's just see if we can get that same effect with these tuplets. So those are all evenly spaced, so that's not going to be the same feel. Oh, but they were all spaced out. So if I'm doing every other septuplet, that's kind of a similar feel in septuplets. So yeah, you can do it with tuplets, and tuplets are pretty cool. But yeah, this is my favorite way of doing it, is just literally dragging them out to an arbitrary amount of time to what feels right. So that's a nice way to create your own groove, is just to create straight quarter notes and then drag them out. And then if you have them going, so I'll show you a couple things now that help get these grooves feeling a little bit better. So I'll start from scratch again, and I'll just start here, and then maybe I'll do a little bit less intense with this, with the slowing down. So the first thing I feel like helps is to have a different sound for like extra bounce. And the second thing I find helps is to use like a reverse hat on top of your regular hat. So I can go in here to the sample and hit reverse, shorten up the tail a little bit, and then I can start using some of these reverse hats instead. So you can see that helped a lot, just doing a little bit of forward offset on the snare, nudging it a bit early and then nudging the hats a bit late. And yeah, that's kind of how I approach these rhythms. They're really fun to make, and there's some common motifs that have been used a lot, like this double kick in the beginning. You hear that in a lot of like older Ivy Lab tracks, with the third snare on the offbeat there. And they sound really good at different tempos. Like I could slow this down. But I find that halftime DNB type tempo, like DNB tempos, like 157, sounds pretty good there. And then something that sounds pretty good over these is like quantized triplets too. So we could get like a sound. Let's get a sound from my other sample pack that I'm putting out this month. I'm making a pack with the Moog subsequent. So we could get maybe a little bass. Yeah, we'll use this. And then if we just have like an arpeggio, like a synth arpeggio and on triplets, that can sound pretty good over these grooves. So not everything has to have the same groove. And if I start dragging every other one of these triplets off the grid, it's going to get more in line with this kind of tuplet type rhythm we have going. So yeah, that can sometimes sound good. I don't know if it sounded good there, but when I'm making these kind of beats, I like to kind of have the main bass line happen in this section of the 2 bars, like over the course of like 2 bars, and then have these beginning and end points be like good little spaces for other sounds. So we get the low pass square wave and maybe make something out of it with that. And I find a lot with a lot of those cool Ivy Lab beats, there's some like weird perks going on, like some other little perks. Like one of my favorite perks is just the 808 tom. Yeah, the ones with a lot of noise. So that could be cool. Another useful thing with these rhythms is like an open hat. It's good to have like an open hat, I find. The Shades open hat. Yeah, nice. So it can be nice to have the open hat like leading into the snare and or also like at the end of the bar. Also, a solid sidechain is necessary for sure. So we'll just do that real quick. Gonna group the kick, put a external. Put one in the snare too. So the kick and snare are just gonna side chain everything out of the way. So yeah, that's kind of how I like to like arrange things for these types of beats, but there's a lot of ways to do it. You can have like a more rolling pattern instead of the more syncopated pattern, but I feel like if you go super syncopated with it, it really helps like the rhythm be the guiding force in the whole thing. So yeah. I guess the last thing I would add here is just like a little bit of some sort of funky halftime lead, like get some random crazy sounding sample, like something out of something out of there, and then we could use this too actually instead of this. how I like to get these grooves to sit with chords, bass, and yeah, let me know how